You've been exploring your spirituality and learning more about yourself, and now you're ready to take bold, positive action. Are you seeking clarity about what is really blocking you from your greatest potential? Do you feel like you're so close to a breakthrough, but you can't figure out why you continue to feel stuck at the same level? Join us now for Real Talk with Joyce and Jennifer, two transformational coaches who are eager to share all they've learned over the many years they've each been working with clients, helping them create the life they want. Joyce and Jennifer both have extensive, diverse backgrounds in the art of conscious transformation, and they are here to help you. So tune in now for the insight and tools you need to consciously live, work, and play, so that you can live the life you most deeply long to experience.
Hi, Joyce here. Welcome to Real Talk with Joyce and Jennifer. I'm a transformational coach, life purpose facilitator, mind-body teacher who guides clients to live their most wild, courageous, and authentic lives.
Hey everyone, it's Jennifer, and I'm a transformational coach, facilitator, and consultant, which basically means I transform the mentality of leaders so that their entire staff and corporate culture can shift toward higher purpose. But as we all know, most importantly, I'm a mom.
So today, Jennifer and I are here to talk about identifying your core beliefs. And if you've been online with us, you know that we've touched on the importance of our belief system in nearly every show up to this point. So today we're actually going to go a little deeper on this subject.
Yes. But before we do, we have a couple of items to cover. So first, Joyce, I want to promote your loss and grief retreat that's coming up soon. In our last show, I got busy blabbing my mouth. I thought we had time to kill, and I was just so very wrong. And so I want to make sure we cover this up front. Your loss and grief retreat is November 3rd to 4th here in Atlanta. So for our listeners, if any of you have suffered any kind of loss of employment, loss of a loved one, loss of a home, or like me, loss of a body part, I know that sounds crazy. I think most of our listeners by now know that I had a bilateral mastectomy, so that's no secret. But seriously, if any of you have been suffering at this deep level of grief, please do come to this powerful retreat that Joyce is hosting. It will be an invaluable catalyst to your healing and your ability to live your life more freely, fully, and happily. So, for those of you who are interested, you can get more information at atlantacenterforgriefandloss.com or simply call 404-881-1322. That's 404-881-1322. And the second thing, Joyce, that I think we need to cover real quick before we start the show is I believe you wanted to start us off with a centering exercise.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer, for that reminder of the grief and loss. And yes, I really like starting off where we get centered here. So let's just take a moment to breathe and to open our hearts and to be grateful for all that we have. You know, we continue to send love and prayers for the people in California who've lost their homes to the wildfires and to the people of Puerto Rico who, you know, are really still suffering and they're just trying to survive because a lot of them still do not have electricity and water. I mean, so they're still in survival mood. Mood. Yeah.
It's so tragic. And we also can't forget the folks in Texas and Florida who are still suffering. And then, of course, the Las Vegas shooting is still heavy on everyone's minds. And those people are, you know, that'll take a long time to heal. But these disasters aren't just happening here in the U.S. either. They're everywhere. In fact, last night I had dinner with a friend, and we agreed that it's challenging to find even a single person who isn't going through a troubling time right now. Just at my kids' school, we've had a handful of unexpected tragic deaths of some of their classmates' parents. It's just gut-wrenching. And I know you and I, Joyce, have talked about how this is the era of transformation, and every one of us is feeling it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's do pause just for a few minutes here and take a deep breath. And so let's all sit quietly, and then I'm going to be reading a poem before we get started today. So just take a deep breath just to be present for a moment to feel into the world and where we are in the world right now. This is a poem from Claire Du Bois, who's the founder of Tree Sisters, women who plant trees all over the world. I am more. You are more. We are more. As the sky falls, as the water rises, as earth beats her chest, and the ground we have known changes shape forever. It's time. It's time. It's beyond time to discover who and what we really are and as part of our life.
Yes.
Okay,
that
so
is
let's get
awesome,
started.
Joyce.
Yeah. I just love it. It's just being present with who we are right now, just in this moment, who we are. And
it's very timely. That poem is so timely for what we're talking about here with all these crises and things that are coming out of this transformation. And getting centered in that deep breathing and gratitude is one very simple way for all of us to just not lose ourselves in fear and grief. It's just a simple tool. So I love that you guys started that way.
Great. Okay, so let's get started with today's discussion. First, we're just asking the question, what are beliefs anyway? So most people think of beliefs as like repetitive thoughts, ideas, interpretations, or convictions. But beliefs go much deeper than our thoughts, ideas, and convictions. Deepak Chopra, who's one of the masters of consciousness and belief, says a belief is an idea you hold to be true. An idea you hold to be true. Usually these ideas are imprinted like seeds in our consciousness when we're children. Belief like religion, race, culture, about other people, and about ourselves. And children hold these beliefs as truth when they are young. Infants are biologically programmed to acquire the beliefs of their parents, their caregivers, and elders. This built-in mechanism helps babies survive in a dangerous, uncertain world. We're really social creatures, dependent on the care of our family, a group, and our community. So the real key is to survive in any group is to become like those around you. If you're different than those around you, you could easily be pushed out, which historically means certain death. We're not designed to be alone. And I just want to say, as you think about people having to be different, who are different and want to step out and be different, all of the difficulties that they often encounter in the world today. So that belief system is still running in our brains. So at this biological level, it's a matter of life or death, whether we take on the beliefs and behaviors of our elders and those around us.
Joyce, when you say this, I just want to stress, fundamentally, this is so crucial for people to understand what's inside of them, because I think on the surface, we all dare to be different, right? We think that's a good thing, and we want to do those things. It's what holds us back so desperately. But my entire change methodology centers around the power of beliefs and the importance of knowing what they are, choosing the ones that serve our highest purpose, and then doing the hard work of rewiring our minds to replace the beliefs that sabotage our success and happiness. And you and I we've both said this before, but I'm going to stress it again. Beliefs are neurologically wired inside us. They run deep, just as you were saying, from prenatal birth and early childhood, and then we perpetuate our beliefs through experiences throughout our lives. So basically, the beliefs that have been so deeply ingrained within us at a physiological level have been a part of us for the entirety of our lives. So when we set out to change our behavior, let's say we want to quit smoking or eating unhealthy foods, for example, this is why it's not easy to do. Sure, we can start it, but sustaining a new behavior is a far more difficult endeavor, as we all know. And so in this show, we're trying to explain why that is.
Absolutely. So yes, in fact, the belief structure of the mind is an ancient tool for survival. It's still programmed, as Jennifer said, into our brain. We just can't get rid of it. Hopefully we will evolve out of this at some point where that part of the brain, the fight and flight survival stuff, will not be as strong as it is right now. So you began to accumulate beliefs while you're actually in the womb. Your body grew inside your mother's electromagnetic and electrochemical field. You knew, felt, and sensed her emotional state. If she felt fear or stress, you were bathed in those chemical hormones, which gave you the same feelings. You got the first sense of the world, which while still inside of your mother's belly, you experienced this as either I'm safe, I am wanted, or I'm not safe and I'm not wanted. Obviously, you didn't experience it through the words, but you experienced this as a body sensation and our feelings. And there's much research that's been done about this, what children actually experience in the womb. So beliefs are essential building blocks of human experience. Beliefs actually create and shape our experiences. They shape our attitudes, our mood, our feelings, and expectations. So for the rest of your young life, beliefs are pouring in from every direction: parents, siblings, teachers, friends, and so on. And for the rest of your life after that, you have advertising, TV, computer screens, and people who continue to program or try to program your beliefs. It never really stops. The deeper issue is that some of our beliefs act as a filter to our perception of reality. And that just means that we don't often, because we have this perception and this belief, we'll be right back and continue our discussion.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you or someone you love ever experienced a major loss? The kind of loss so cataclysmic that it divided life into before and after. The death of a beloved person or pet, the loss of a job, a health challenge, can leave us feeling empty, lost, alone, wondering if we'll ever feel joy again. Loss is universal. Grief is part of the human condition. But in our modern world, we've lost the ability to understand, share, and integrate our grief. We're expected to grieve privately and quickly get over it. This November 3rd through 5th, the Atlanta Grief and Loss Center will be hosting a retreat that will allow you to fully feel, integrate, and catalyze your grief. Our retreat is called Heartbroken Open, Grief as a Sacred Path to Renewal and Rebirth. If you are grieving, or if you work with clients who are grieving, you'll find more information about this powerful retreat at atlantagriefandlosscenter.com/retreats or call 404-881-1322.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind.
Life is worth more than a text.
Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
welcome back. As I was just starting a discussion on the deeper issue of our beliefs is that the beliefs sometimes act as a filter to our perception of reality. So you can see this when two people are having a conversation and their beliefs are different, that unless they can get through the difference and allow themselves to be open to have a conversation, they both stay in the same belief system because the other issue on the other side is not in their belief system. And it feels to me that's why some people have difficulty. And this actually happened to me not long ago. And I always thought of myself as somebody who listens to other people, but I found myself in the middle of several days of having a conversation with a woman who I just didn't believe what her conversation. I didn't believe what she was saying to me. The whole issue was around money, and we both had two different perceptions around money. Now, finally, in the middle of all of this, it just hit me that I needed to be able to listen. I didn't have to accept what she said, but I had to be able to listen to kind of get a better understanding of where she was coming from. So that's how, you got to, if you're sitting with somebody who has a different perception or a different belief system, you've got to really open that up and listen to what people are saying and at least take their perspective in and not just blow it off. So.
Yes, I see this all the time in the workplace, Joyce. When I get called in, usually it's because the pain points are high or, turnover's high or something is indicating that there are some things that are wrong. and oftentimes it's exactly what you're describing, where two people are functioning from different belief systems, thinking they're going toward the same goal. And the conflict arises and the productivity falls and then the morale falls. And next thing you know, there's no trust in the environment at all. And, good luck with getting anything done like that. So, but it does. It always comes back to those fundamental beliefs and having to get an entire leadership team on the same page first. So also, you touched on some things about the building blocks and being in the womb and so forth. And so much of that gives reason to why when I start a new coaching client, oftentimes my onboarding process includes a walk down memory lane. And I'll even ask clients if they have any knowledge, maybe somebody told them about the circumstances of their conception or their birth or both, because that can give us tremendous insight into the formation of someone's beliefs that is driving patterns in the brain and causing the person to look at life and make decisions and take actions that literally sabotage their well-being. So, I like to think of it as our brains are virtual computers. They're very sophisticated machines. They operate on a neural system, which is why I use the analogy of a computer in the change process. When someone signs up to transform their lives, they are signing up to change their belief system literally. So I ask them to think of it as their operating system. And just like with our computers, we all have to upgrade our operating system from time to time to get it to give us the optimal output that we're looking for. It's the exact same process with the brain and our ability to change our perspectives and our behaviors.
Absolutely. Great point. So, your beliefs can change your life. So every day, life is impossible without holding your own set of beliefs. Just because beliefs exist silently doesn't make it less powerful. Most people are guided by beliefs in the work they do, in their religion, the loyalty to their family, and all kinds of values they hold dear. But there's a problem when your beliefs start to gain the upper hand and get in the driver's seat. So much of the violence or crazy behavior in the world today is associated with a deeply held belief of things like tribalism, skinheads beliefs, religious fundamentalism, and us versus them thinking. And that is actually imprisoning the people who are trapped in those beliefs. To have a belief that is so limiting, and that goes back to what we said about a filter on your brain, a filter on your beliefs that will not allow you to see what you're believing may not be the best thing for you or your community. So they've lost sight of two things. First, you're meant to be in control of your beliefs, not the other way around. Secondly, The switch that creates a new belief also creates a new reality at the same time. So when enemies turn into allies, when frustration turns to fulfillment, when being a victim turns into being strong and self-sufficient, the switch has been pulled and starts all over. The reality shift changes.
Which is awesome, and that is basically the transformation, right? I mean, these are excellent points to stress, Joyce. Beliefs hold us hostage, literally. We can thank beliefs and not circumstances or other people as we all think, right? We can thank beliefs when we feel victimized. That's why we feel victimized. We can count on beliefs to be our greatest perpetrator. Beliefs are the puppeteers behind our lens in life. They're the things that cause the voices in our heads to tell us lies about ourselves and other people. And then we fall for those lies and act out because of them. We don't act out because of someone else or the circumstances, though we think that's what we're doing. We actually act out because of our beliefs about the other person or the circumstances. And I think, as silly and simple as that sounds, it is a fundamental difference that we all absolutely have to start to understand if we really want to change, huge parts of our lives. So when we don't do that, when we don't recognize it, I mean, that's just exactly how we perpetuate our own vicious cycle, because we just stay as, if we want to use the word victims, we're basically victims of our brain just being on autopilot around those beliefs. And so it's why fundamentally the simple adage, change your beliefs and you change your life, it's so true. Everything around us shifts, as you said, Joyce, when we consciously and intentionally shift our beliefs. When we transform our unworthy beliefs into beliefs of unconditional love, for example, the universe begins to bend in our favor. And when we start to see that shift outside of us, that's when we really start to begin to understand the power inside of us.
Absolutely. And the most powerful beliefs are the ones that I call core beliefs, because they tell you who you are. If someone deeply believes I'm a winner and someone believes I'm not lovable, the outcome of the core beliefs will be very different. So it's critical to hold positive core beliefs and to activate them in your daily life. The more you activate your core beliefs, the more dynamic and transformed your reality will actually be. So there are 4 core beliefs. I think the largest ones, the biggest ones that I have seen that most people seem to have. There are a lot of core beliefs, but when these are changed, I think they are the beginning of making some major change. So they are, of course, your core beliefs about love. Am I loved? Can I love? Does anybody love me? Your feelings about self-worth. And this is a huge one, where people do not believe they're worthy of being loved, worthy of having a great job, worthy of anything. The third one is feeling safe and secure. And there are many people who do not feel safe because of their childhoods and all the things that have happened to them. And the fourth one is feeling whole. So if you ask people if they feel whole, most people would say no, that they don't feel whole. They might feel partially whole, but there's part of them that they feel is really missing. So in everyone's heart, there's a belief about all 4 of these things. And the belief isn't always simple. Your entire life has been shaped by your core beliefs, while at the same time your core beliefs have shaped your entire life. Take the areas of love. Here are some possible core beliefs that someone can hold with love, either positive or negatively. So here's some negative beliefs. I'm not very lovable. Love is temporary and fleeting. Love can easily turn into hate. Falling in love is a delusion, a kind of romantic insanity. Positive beliefs. I deserve unconditional love and also want to give it. Love is eternal. Consciousness itself contains the power of love. Human love can connect with divine love and rise to its level. So as you can see, someone who holds the second set of beliefs, which are positive, will be happier and more fulfilled than someone who holds the first set.
Those are so good, Joyce. And the 4 core beliefs that you separated, I see that all the time. That was brilliant. And so I want to think about that for a second with our listeners. An example of the kind of divisive beliefs that you used when you were talking about tribalism and the skinhead mentality and that type of thing. Many of us use the term win-win all the time. I mean, I know I use it all the time, just over and over and over when working with corporate clients, because it's virtually impossible for me to find a leader who actually believes it's possible to generate a win-win, right? They may say it, they may walk around like a robot saying it, but when I start digging, do they actually believe it? No. So, as simple as that sounds, it gives reason to why we often don't experience mutually beneficial relationships. Too many of us have been wired to believe if I win, you lose. Therefore, if you win, I lose. And that's not going to happen, right? That's most people's attitudes. And then let the games begin. Things get crazy between people. But to be clear, much of the work I do is cognitive around this, and that's only half the battle. So I want to touch on more on that later in the show when we talk about what people can do to change their beliefs, which we will actually get to. But I just, I love the points you're making. Just really, really good fundamental things that all of our listeners need to be thinking about.
And I think the win-win mentality is something that really needs to be changed in our culture. The fact that several people can't be winners. We can all be winners. We don't have to be so competitive against each other. We'll be right back.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM-FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Depleted by the rat race? Depressed by the attitudes of the human race? The book Honor explains why and how to transform your life from confusion and heartache to one that you most authentically desire. Join OMTimes radio host Jennifer McKenna Weinbaum as she takes you on her journey from her darkest period to her happiest and healthiest life. Entertaining, enlightening, Honor will help you find and maintain the love and light in your own life. Visit www.universalabundance.com to pre-order your copy.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. People think that having someone who will listen makes it better. I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I think that having someone who will listen makes it better. People understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to turn addiction around. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back. So as we move on with our conversation about beliefs, then we're going to talk some about actually making change. So given a choice, most people who read inspiring words, say about love, have a "wouldn't that be nice" response. In other words, their personal life has brought them mixed experiences of love, neither all positive nor all negative. But core beliefs aren't simply a box of opinions you tout out and examine it if you have time. They're like microchips, like Jennifer said, in the computer. They're like the microchip in there. We might say buried at some deep level of the mind, constantly sending out the message code into them. So these messages don't change unless you bring self-awareness in to change them. Left to themselves, the microchips mechanically perform the same task over and over. So a young girl who believes I'm not very lovable is likely to grow up being an adult woman who thinks the same thing, because in the intervening years, the microchip has been beeping away, sending out the same message, and eventually the girl's personal reality will conform to a negative belief, which in this case is about self-worth as well as about love.
Which I feel like you're telling the story of my life, by the way. I was adopted, and even though I was raised by the most incredible couple, my parents, I acquired a more deeply embedded belief at birth that I didn't even know I had, but that belief clearly stated that I was not lovable. And so contrary to what my parents showed me or what my friends showed me, it was a fundamental belief that had already been wired in there. And so if we walk down my memory lane, we would see that dichotomy. Most of the men I attracted in my dating years were masterfully capable of saying they loved me, but clearly not showing it. And so on occasion, I had, a really healthy, wonderful relationship that was more like my parents, because I did have a wonderful male role model in my father. So there was a dichotomy within me. It was an inner conflict. It was sometimes I was able to attract a healthy relationship, but other times I really did the opposite. But it was in my adulthood when I started my own transformative journey and discovered how powerful unconscious beliefs are and how powerful mine were around the whole notion that I was unlovable. That's when I saw how much power they had and how much work I put into it to overcome it, because I was a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely. So let's talk about how to change your negative disempowering beliefs, which is what we all want, but it's not always so easy. So if you want your life to change at a deeper level of core beliefs, awareness is your most powerful ally. Changing your beliefs is not easy and requires you to be willing to ask and tell yourself the truth. We can change our reality of the world by changing our beliefs. And here are 4 questions you can ask yourself about your beliefs. So this means when one of those beliefs come up that keeps you feel it's keeping you from moving forward, either to have self-confidence or to get back in the game of dating again after years. So if you're feeling that resistance, that's telling you something right there. So here's some of the questions you could ask yourself. Do I know this to be true? Why is it true? So you have to examine what the feeling is. Is this really true, or is it just part of some old baggage that I've been carrying around with me forever? What's holding on to this belief that's helped me? What would I be if I did not have this belief? And how does my life express itself due to my belief? Which is a really good question. What's going on in my life right now that's attached to this belief? And you look around in your life, and I've done that before, and a lot of things that you wanted are not working. You know it has to do with your belief system. So here's a useful way to begin to change a core belief. Take one of the 4 areas: love, self-worth, feeling safe and secure, feeling whole. Sit down with a piece of paper and make 2 headings: my positive beliefs and my negative beliefs. Now list all the beliefs you hold around this one topic, such as love. Don't restrict yourself. Write down any belief that comes to your mind. Now return to your list at least 2 more times in the following week. Add to the negative and positive side of your mind. Continues to reflect. You will find the deeper beliefs take more time to surface. So you might have to do this over and over again. Sometimes these beliefs do not want to be shown. They do not want to surface because they've been there and they think they're protecting you. So now that your lists are complete, sit back and assess them. By each belief, put a mark, S for strong belief, W for weak belief, or U for uncertain or not quite sure belief. So you're mapping out the territory of your core belief system, which is incredibly useful. Since this is your private communication with yourself, don't be ashamed to put down a belief you think is wrong or unacceptable. This is your time to take charge of your beliefs.
That's great. Great point. All of this is really, really good. I want to stress that last point too, because I think that a lot of people hide from their beliefs because they think they're shameful, and perhaps objectively they are, but if they're in there, they still have power. So we have to make ourselves vulnerable enough, in our own privacy, if the privacy with a therapist or a coach, or, if they're sitting with you, Joyce, for them to feel safe and be able to open up and talk about these things, because we cannot ignore it if you want to change. So, and all of this is very similar to the inventory list I provide in my Godspeed journal that I created years ago. And in that, though, I also add one more element about the unconscious beliefs, because I think that sometimes, even when we're going through an awareness exercise, we miss some key sabotaging beliefs. So one of the ways I ask clients to just step outside of themselves for a minute, do another inventory, is to ask to think about, and to listeners, I would just say, think about your same gender parent. Over the years, I have found an uncanny level of gender-based modeling in my clients. That's unconscious, by the way. Stress the word unconscious. So, ladies, if you feel like you're nothing like your mother, just take a step back for a second and ask yourself what her sabotaging behaviors are. Because it's not about whether or not you have her personality or whether or not you believe her beliefs. It does, or you consciously believe her beliefs or take on her behaviors. It's really about, take a look back. What were her sabotaging behaviors? And then track back those behaviors to her fundamental beliefs that are driving the behaviors, right? So if she's doing a self-abusive behavior like smoking or drugs or something, really overt like that, track back and see what would her belief about herself be, or about her health and her body. And then you can see, is there a link? Is there a link between that and the way I treat myself for my body? Maybe you don't smoke. Maybe you do something else, but it's still self-sabotaging around your health. So that's just an example. And, when you ask yourself if you can see that same belief playing out in your life, you will see that more than likely it's playing out differently. So I can't stress that enough either. And so this exercise just adds another level and another layer of awareness and objectivity to the exercise that Joyce was giving you, which is fabulous. So guys, for you, take another look at your father's beliefs and behaviors when you do this exercise. You may not be able to match everything up, but again, it's just an added step to ensure that you can see a bigger picture than just what's in your conscious mind. So we're just going to stretch it a little bit further so that you're covering conscious beliefs and unconscious beliefs.
I love that point, Jennifer. You say that most people say they don't want to be like their mother or they don't want to be like their father.
Right.
But with my clients, I've seen that actually there's more linkages there than you can imagine, even though they didn't want it. But the difference is you have time to change it. If you don't want to be like that, you can do something about it. You don't have to live your whole lifetime with that behavior. So, so great. After you make your list, begin to foster change. So take one strong negative belief and one strong positive belief. As an example, the negative belief might be, I will only get love from a few people. And the positive belief might be, love can heal. Your task is to diminish the negative belief and reinforce the positive belief. This is the kind of brain training I use where you lay down new pathways of thinking and feeling. So in the case of these two beliefs, what steps can you take? To minimize this belief, you need to feel more secure about love outside your close-knit circle of family and friends. Tell yourself that it is possible. Just because only a few people love you now doesn't mean that you won't have more people love you later. So start where it feels safe, like working in a shelter or helping underprivileged kids as an activity where you can see an immediate response to appreciation and gratitude, which are expressions of love. It doesn't have to just be in a relationship. There's many kinds of relationships it can be in, not just male relationship or female. In general, be with people who are loving. They exist all over the world, and they may intensely love their work, their mission, their vision, their life, other people, the beauty of nature. There are infinite ways for love to express itself when you become involved with them. You become part of their love.
Yes, and I'm going to be really obnoxious here and say, I just love what you're saying about love. But it's so true, and I think that one of the things that I can never stress enough is how important taking action is. So, you talk about going out, working in the shelter, helping the underprivileged kids. Take action in this endeavor. It's the best way to ensure that you actually form new neural pathways in your mind around those positive beliefs. It is a critical step because without these new neural pathways, your brain will always default to the old negative beliefs. You can count on that. Remember, it's just an operating system. It doesn't follow your lead. Your brain isn't going to follow your lead just because you want it to. You absolutely must take action in order for your new operating system to be uploaded, since we're using that analogy. It's the only way you'll experience results. So when we come back, we're going to talk about more of what you can do to change your beliefs.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown-up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. So I'm going to talk about some ways that you can get help in clearing these that are really, really significant ways. So, there are many ways to excavate and clear your beliefs, but these are some that I have either engaged in myself or teach that I know they actually work. So one is voice dialogue, which is very powerful to sit with somebody and have take on that part of you. With a therapist or with another person if you know how to do it. Also NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and internal family systems is incredibly powerful. And EMDR for clearing, and brain spotting. These are some of the ways that can help you identify them, bring them up, and then clear them. So I found, for me, it's very helpful to work in partnership with my ego and belief system. I always ask my higher self, or essence, to join me in dialogue before I start clearing my beliefs. Because when you start, I guarantee you there's probably going to be some resistance. And so it just works clear if you're in dialogue with something outside of yourself that's not your ego, essentially. So here are some intentions that I like to say to my subconscious. Because remember, your subconscious is who you want to be on board with you, to work with you. So one I really like is, my subconscious mind is my partner in success. I have unlimited power at my disposal. My success helps many people. I attract people and circumstances everywhere I go that help me. So there are many more intentions that you can say as you meditate, as you get yourself into a deeper space, that help you to sit and ask questions through your higher self. Why is this belief there? How is it serving me? I want to, and have a dialogue with it. I want to let this go. I don't want to be trapped by this belief system anymore. So, Jennifer, what else you got for us?
Well, on that note, I think what you're describing is critical to understand, because you better believe that your brain is not going to go down without a fight. When you start to change your belief systems that have been deeply wired in there, that is your neurological comfort zone. Your brain, if I could project a human being onto your brain, I would say that would be it would be a person that would be desperate to stay in the comfort zone. So the brain is going to work against you, and it's going to tell you all kinds of things that are going to make you think you just can't do whatever it is that you're embarking on. Yeah. So it's really important that you get those different aspects of yourself in line when you get ready to do this work. So early in the show, I mentioned that my work is primarily cognitively based. Joyce, you've mentioned some great techniques that I know you have been trained in and so forth. But I want to touch on briefly on a couple of things that I've learned. And one is just the importance of understanding that cognitive work, whether it be with a coach or a therapist, is only part of the process, even though it's an absolute crucial part. It really can't skip over it. But when we refer to the neural pathways that our beliefs are wired in, there are areas of the brain that are involved that can't be accessed cognitively because they aren't housed in the area of the brain where cognition exists. Some of these are deeply wired in other areas of the brain, and they're going to continue to have power if we aren't able to access and work with them. So this is why meditation, visualization, hypnotherapy, and all of the techniques that Joyce mentioned are also critical tools to add to your toolbox when you're embarking on this type of transformation. And then for some like me, my personal experience, I've had a lot of trauma over the years, and so there are specific neural therapies and Joyce, you mentioned one of them, and it's one that I've done actually. It can undo the wiring in those otherwise inaccessible areas of the brain. So I've had a lot of positive outcomes with a technique, it's a trauma therapy called brain spotting. I not only have had tremendous success with clearing trauma through this technique, but it also just simply fascinates me because it gives me a deeper understanding of just how deeply wired our beliefs are and just how sophisticated our brains are in how they communicate with the rest of our body. Around those traumas and around those beliefs. So it's another whole subject for another day, but for now, we just want you to simply get started on your path of transformation by increasing your awareness to your beliefs, by doing all the exercises Joyce has shared with us today. And so on that note, let's do a quick recap of today's show before we go. Joyce, do you want to lead that for us?
Absolutely. So sounds great. First, we started with taking a moment to sit quietly in gratitude. This is always a powerful tool to use anytime, anywhere. Then we spent a lot of time talking about what beliefs are, where they come from, how they play out, and how they shape our life experiences. Finally, we took you through some exercises and insight to change them to your benefit. We all have deeply embedded positive and negative benefits, and our goal is really to identify the negative ones and consciously change them to beliefs that are more empowering and healthy.
Yes, and, this topic in general is a doozy. I mean, we could probably talk about it for days. I think, we've covered the high points, and we definitely provided a great starting point here. And I think that maybe in future shows we'll cover a little bit more ground with it. But for now, it's just start here, see where it goes, give us a shout, let us know how it's going, and we'd love to do some future shows based on some of your comments and input from your own experiences.
Absolutely. So if you have any questions about today's show, again, as Jennifer said, reach out. You can find us on Facebook, or you can go to joyceandjennifer.com to sign up for our newsletter, or feel free to go to either one of our websites, joycedillon.com and jmacconsulting.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and as a reminder, if you're an individual who is ready to explore your purpose and live out more fully, live out your purpose more fully, contact Joyce. And then if you're in a leadership role and you want to be the best leader you can be, give me a shout. We're here to help you. This is the reason why we do the show every week. And then Joyce, your loss and grief retreat. Let's give them that information as well before we go.
Absolutely, yes. So don't forget the loss and grief retreat that's coming November 3 through 5 in Atlanta. For more information, you can go to Atlanta Center for Grief and Loss.com or call me at 404-881-1322. And you can listen to last week's podcast on loss and grief, or 2 weeks ago podcast. So there's a lot of information on here in those podcasts. I mean, really, some of my clients say, I'm going to go back and try this weekend to listen to a couple of them, because they just help particularly if you're a coach and you're working with somebody around probably one of these issues that we've discussed so far. I send people there because it just helps. It's another resource for listening to information. And I find them very powerful. I listen to people's podcasts all the time. I really like podcasts, and, they're short and succinct, and you just learn a lot from them.
Yes, definitely. And so for those of you who are out there running, you can always listen to it while you're running. If you're driving, if you've got a long commute, those are all great ways to do it, because I know, we all have such busy lives. And, but I also just want to put a kind of a flag on the field, to use a football analogy, as a warning to say that busyness can really take us down in the end, because, while we think it's so worthwhile every day, and every point of our busyness is worthwhile in that moment, which we want to, we love living in the moment. But if we don't step back every once in a while and just assess, is what we're doing with our time really getting us where we want to go? It's a critical question to ask ourselves periodically. And if not, then that's a cue to say, okay, it's time to take a minute, step back, reassess, and figure out what it is that you really do want, and then go from there. And so all of these podcasts give you lots of tips and tools to help you do that. One more time, I just want to go back to when we started with the simple act of gratitude. I stress this a lot with clients, that in the times that we're dealing with right now, where we're getting hit with negative information and tragic events right and left, everywhere we turn, we just have so much negativity weighing down on us. We started this podcast today, this radio show, with one of the simplest, most powerful tools you can have in your toolbox, and that is take a moment and sit quietly and just rattle off every single thing in your life to be grateful for. We have running water. We have electricity. Our car runs. Our children are healthy. Our spouse is healthy. We have friends. Joyce, you could add to this list, but, the basics, we can't forget to be eternally grateful for what is going right in our life.
I totally agree. And we don't really think about it until something else happens. But just as you said, to be grateful every day that some difficulty hasn't happened. It doesn't mean it will not happen, but just to be grateful that I can walk today. I have food that I can go to the grocery store. I have money to buy food. I live in a house that it's safe, and I'm living in a community that's safe. All these things we just take for granted. And also, I just want to say all this really does, to me, wrap into during difficult times doesn't mean that. So we're going to end. Doesn't mean that you don't live your life purpose. So we're going to end our conversation today. And yes, and we'll talk to you next week. So see you next week.
Yes. So until then, be well. Thanks for listening.